Welcome to the Fridge and Pantry review. You're now watching part 5, which covers desserts, sweets, hot drinks and some other snack ideas for when you're entertaining. So moving on to sauces, seasonings and dressings, because these things sort of fancy up your meals a little bit. And something I really like is this little seasoning I found in the supermarket, in the seasoning aisle, so with all the other salts and spices, and it's basically Himalayan salt with herbs, and that's all it is. So it's really fantastic. That it's very simple and so flavoursome. I like to put it on the roast veggies, and so that's just one way, but there are heaps of ways you can use it. It's just a really lovely little seasoning. Something else you could sprinkle on your veggies or your salad would be something like apple cider vinegar, and putting some vinegar on your salad is helpful for the digestion. And I've also got a nice little dressing recipe in that ebook, which is the tangy slime dressing, and if you download the ebook you'll find out why it's called slime. There really is no slime in it. Okay, moving on to snack foods. What about when you have people over? What would you eat then? What do I have on hand? I make my basil pesto dip, and that recipe is in the free ebook, and basically it uses that cheese that I showed you earlier, some nuts and basil, and it's quite yummy. Another handy thing if you're dairy free to have on hand is something like dukkha. This is dukkha made locally from our local vegan store here in Adelaide, but you can, lots of people make dukkha, and it's basically whole food ingredients. It's whole nuts and seeds just all chopped up with some spices, and it's lovely, and you just can dip it in some olive oil and it makes quite a nice little social dip to have. But if nuts don't work for you, another option might be something like this avocado spread, which I found in the fruit and veg section of the supermarket. It's in the fridge part of the fruit and veg section, and it's fantastic because it's basically just mashed avocado with a little bit of salt. So it's a handy party dip if you don't have time to make everything from scratch and you've got people coming over. It's one of those handy things to whip out of the fridge. Or again, if it's that time of the year where all the avocados are looking pretty dodgy, again you could use this on your in your wraps or in your sandwiches or on your salad, for example. So moving on to sweet things and hot drinks. Now, I get a lot of people who drink coffee in the clinic, and if you're one of my preconception care clients, I also like to give you a little protocol for how to stop drinking coffee. So the first step of that is to ideally switch to an organic coffee, and this is a plunger coffee, this one here, and I get these from my supermarket, and I think the labels are now, the most current label is the one on the left, but I don't drink coffee anymore, which is why I've got some old labels still in the house. So first of all, switch to an organic coffee, and then when your taste buds are adapting and the habit of making coffee in the plunger has changed, then I like to switch people over gradually to a decaffeinated organic coffee. And you're basically looking for the coffee which has been decaffeinated in a way which doesn't use any chemicals. And so one of the good ones to look for is usually the Swiss water filtered method. And your relative difference in caffeine between the two, you're looking about anywhere from 80 to 100 milligrams of caffeine per cup from regular coffee, to anywhere from about 5 with the decaf. So it comes down quite a bit. And then they could switch to something like a low caffeine tea, something like this Ceylon tea, for example, which is naturally low in caffeine, and according to the website, this particular one has about 4 milligrams of caffeine per tea bag, but bear in mind that that's going to change, depending on how long you soak your tea bag for, how long you let it steep for example. So when it comes to sweeteners, now there's a lot of hype about sugar-free and everything at the moment, but I just like to show you that there are some alternative sweeteners out there, and especially if you're plant-based and I've got some vegan clients who don't have honey, for example. It's nice to see what other alternatives are out there. And so rice malt syrup is one you might not have seen before, and it's got a lovely, subtle, sweet flavour. I use this in some of my recipes, and yeah, it's quite lovely and just really subtle flavour. It's, for example, if you've had golden syrup is quite a strong sweetener and honey is more mild in flavour, I would say rice malt syrup is even more mild than honey in sweetness. So it's a really good one if you're just trying to get your taste buds used to different flavours and different levels of sweetness. And also the handy thing about rice malt syrup is it's a low GI sweetener as well. Another popular sweetener that you'll see and that I've just started playing with some recipes is coconut syrup, and again it's another low GI sweetener, but also I find this one has a richer flavour than the rice malt syrup, and again I'm playing with it in some recipes for my vegan clients. So what would you put on that special occasion treat if you missed dairy? Something like coconut cream, whipped cream. And if you check out on my website, if you go to the website and in the search box you type in coconut cream or whipped cream, the recipe of how I make this will come up, and it's just an easy little recipe. And basically the main thing you want to look for is a coconut cream which doesn't have any stabilizers in it. Otherwise you'll be whipping for a very long time. So check out that post and that'll give you some more information on how to put that together. And an example of where I use it, this is the pear and cherry crumble from that free ebook. But the recipe for how to make the coconut cream is on my website. Something else that I use in the crumble is this almond Brazil and cashew spread. It's also really nice to have on toast or even just to dip like veggie sticks in. It's just, a lovely nut spread. And the great thing about using a blend of different nuts is that you're getting different minerals as well, because each nut has a different nutritional profile to it. I mean, they're all commonly reasonably high in fat. They are a source of protein and a source of minerals, but they've got different minerals in them. So getting a blend of nuts as opposed to just having something like peanut butter, for example, just gives you, again, exposure to different nutrition in your day, and it's a really lovely flavour. Another spread that I like to have on hand is tahini. It comes unhulled and hulled, and again you'll find this in your local supermarket. And basically the unhulled has a stronger flavour than the hulled, but it's got a delicious, probably I'd say it's got a little bit of a burnt sort of flavour to it, but it's really lovely. And I like to stir this through the creamy pumpkin soup, which is dairy free, and you could dip carrot sticks or apple in it. It's lovely, and it's also nice on toast with some banana if that suits your diet. And this was a lovely little find, coconut yogurt. It's a yogurt alternative. Now, with the cheese and the yogurt, and again with the milks, as I said, because they're not dairy based, they're going to have a different nutritional profile than their dairy counterparts have. So, for example, the dairy-free cheese isn't necessarily a source of calcium. Read the label to see if it's been added, and if it hasn't, then obviously look at your diet if that's something that's important for you. And same with the yogurt. So again, being as this is made from coconut milk, which isn't naturally high in calcium, for example, this is not going to have the same sort of nutritional profile as your conventional dairy milk yogurts will have. And the other thing is, because it's not made from dairy milk, it'll have different probiotic cultures in there, and health claims about probiotics are really strain specific, so just bear that in mind when you're looking at all your different sorts of alternatives out there. But this particular flavour of this yogurt is absolutely lovely. It's like whipped cream, and it's very rich, but it's divine, and I use a tiny bit of this in my creamy pumpkin soup. So another thing that I always have on hand for us and the kids to reach for is fresh fruit. And I know it seems so obvious, but this is what I do have at the house all the time. And you know, the fruit will change depending on the seasons, but we generally always have pears, apples and bananas, as well as frozen blueberries. So another thing to look out for and to have on hand as you're changing your lifestyle, and something that I use every day, is our stainless steel water bottles. I've had these particular ones for a couple of years now. As you can tell, they're well loved and well used. And apart from just being a more environmentally friendly choice because you're not going through so much disposable plastic, the main health benefit here is that you're not being exposed to the hormone disruptors that the plastics which the throwaway drink bottles are made from can leach. And so things like phthalates and BPA, which really aren't good for us, you can just reduce and avoid the exposure to those things by using something like a stainless steel water bottle. So the things that you would want to look for when you're looking for a stainless steel water bottle is to check that it is actually food grade stainless steel. And I've had a couple which they had a really weird taste to them, so it shouldn't have a weird taste. It should really be quite inert and not be an issue at all. And also you want to check that they're not aluminium or aluminium lined with BPA, because again that just sort of defeats the purpose of trying to avoid the plastic. And lastly, if you're going to keep them in your handbag, for example, you want to try and get a seal which is as watertight as possible. And so both of these are pretty good. You might get some leaking depending on how much you shake them. The one on the left I find is pretty good, but to be honest, I don't lay these down when I've got my phone in my bag. I have a different screw cap which I could use for times when I have to screw them down and lay them down. But all different brands make them, and there are different types available. I've tried quite a few, and these are my favourites so far. But I'm, as I said, I'm always trying new things to see if I can find something that's even more convenient or even more practical to use. But yeah, I've been pretty happy with these so far. So this brings the presentation to an end. I really hope you found it useful. I really wanted to put things in here that were practical and that you could go home and start applying as of your next shopping trip, or even now if you want to just, turn this off and go and look in your fridge and pantry and start, looking at your ingredient panels and just start looking at the foods that you've got in more detail than you might have looked at before. Products are changing all the time, and I'm always trying new things as I get clients with new needs, because I like to really be able to give people practical things that they can apply. So if you would like to keep up to date, just head on over to the website and enter your details, and you'll receive access to the newsletter, and you'll also receive a copy of the free ebook as well. And I will be adding various resources to the freebie section for people who are on the newsletter list, as well as some other talks and things down the track, some other resources as well. So being on the newsletter list just means, one, you get access to any new freebies I add there, but also you will get access to the newsletter so you'll know when they come out. So I really hope you enjoyed it, and I'd love to hear some of your thoughts and feedback. If you want to either email me via the website or check out the Facebook page, and you can message me via the Facebook page. It's been really great putting this together, and I really hope you enjoyed it. Thanks for watching. Bye.